What is going on, my beautiful people? For those who don't know who I am, my name is Jaspect, and welcome back to another video. Today, I thought I'd go ahead and rank every single killer in Friday the 13th the game. I have a big appreciation and a lot of love for this game because I played it a lot throughout middle school, and even now I still play it, even though dedicated servers are no longer available. I think it's still definitely playable, but the fact that there are no dedicated servers definitely hurts the game a lot because a lot of people tend to leave the second they get killed, which kind of sucks. But even now, I still really do enjoy this game. It is so much fun to play, especially when you have a big group of friends. I also do want to point out that all the footage that is taken here is going to be from my Twitch. If you want to go follow me on Twitch, make sure to check it in the description down below, along with my TikTok and also my Twitter. I also want to stress enough that this is simply my opinion. If you don't agree, that's perfectly fine. I understand. Let me know what your list would be down below. Coming in at number 9 on this list, ironically enough, I have Part 9 Jason. Now, Part 9 Jason, I feel like on any person's list, on any video, he would be at the bottom, if not the bottom of the list. For good reason as well, because this guy has a lot of very bad weaknesses. For starters, one of them is the fact that he can't run. Now, while not being able to run isn't the biggest weakness in the world, because a lot of the Jasons in the game cannot run apart from Part 2, Part 3, and Part 4, it still is definitely a disadvantage. This guy is also considered one of the weaker Jasons, considering the fact that actually he has less health points. Now, with health points, what that means is that it's basically easier to get the mask off of Jason. So if you run into like a group of Jason killers, Part 9 Jason is probably the worst Jason to play. Probably out of all of them to fight against them. He also has less traps. Less traps is probably one of the worst weaknesses in the game you can have, because instead of getting the normal 5, he actually gets 3 instead. Unless you're playing on a map that has the boat on it, this is a very massive disadvantage because you're only really able to trap pretty much mainly two things, depending on how you trap cars. That being, you trap the car battery spot, the gas spot, and then the phone. But 9 times out of 10, you're going to be probably playing on a map that has two cars, which means that one car will pretty much be open to get repaired as quick as possible. Now, I'm also going to be talking about some of the positives, even about the worst Jasons. One of the big positives about this guy is that he has a super fast shift that also regenerates really fast, which is very good if you're trying to catch a player or even catch a car. That specifically is one of the biggest strengths you can probably have in the game, is having a fast shift. He's also very stun resistant to pretty much every weapon that I guess is very big on stunning, such as the bat or the wrench, and he also has a very long stock that also regenerates quick as well. Trust me, you can put in a lot of work with any of these Jasons on this list, even the worst ones. I just tend to put this guy last, mainly just because of the traps and the fact that he is so weak to the point where it's probably one of the easier Jasons to kill in the game. Coming in at number 8, I have Part 7 Jason. Now, I know a lot of people tend to rank Part 7 as one of the worst Jason. Well, he is one of the worst Jasons in the game, but many people tend to have him at the bottom of the list. I think, in my opinion, he definitely would be at the bottom of the list if it wasn't for them removing the fact that he had, for one of his weaknesses, it was shift. Instead of it being shift, now it is stun resistance, which it makes him somewhat a little bit better, I guess, to play. He definitely is still one of the worst, or one of the weaker Jasons, but I do think that he is a tiny bit better than Part 9. Now, this Jason has three, or I guess mainly two big weaknesses, that being the stun resistance, which I mentioned earlier. Stun resistance is a big problem. However, if you're somebody who is very good at dodging attacks and stuff, it really doesn't tend to be that big of an issue. However, if you're a newer player, I wouldn't advise playing this guy to start off. I think he's one of the main characters you can get in the beginning of the game. And on top of that, also, he has minus traps. Traps being a weakness on any Jason's automatically going to put them all the way at the bottom, because you need traps in this game in order to pretty much do anything, or else you're just going to be running around back and forth trying to make sure they don't get the phone fuse or they don't get the car started up. And of course, the one of the other weaknesses is the fact that he can't run. Running isn't exactly the biggest weakness in the world, because, I mean, let's be real, if you have a decent shift, you're going to be fine. Now, for his strengths, it includes the sensibility, which can be good for people who like to play stealthy. I play on Xbox personally, and I do get a lot of people that are newer that tend to hide a lot, especially like when the final person, they tend to hide in things such as beds or closets. So playing this Jason and having a really good sense is definitely makes it easier to find them. Now, for his other strength, it is water speed. Water speed is something that it's kind of useless in a lot of ways, because, like, let's be honest, how many people do you see like that actually escape from the boat because of the fact that it's very easy for Jason to catch up to them unless they're playing a certain Jason that's weakness is water speed. I don't see it as a big strength to have it, but I guess it's something if you want to get that one out of like 20 games, you get that one person that decides to hop on the boat. And he also has weapon strength. Weapon strength is actually pretty good because it makes it easier to kill survivors. If you're in a big group that is trying to jump you can pretty much just slash your way around and kill everybody relatively quickly. Now, the main reason why I put this guy above Part 9 is due to his actual weapon. I kind of forgot to mention in the last one, but the weapon for Part 9 is, of course, I think it is like a double-sided axe, if I'm correct. Yeah, a battle axe. So the battle axe isn't really that great of a weapon to use on any Jason, really. It's not the worst, but I wouldn't say it's one of the best either. And the machete, I think, is arguably the best weapon to use in the entire game. Once you get, I believe it is to 150, you are able to unlock it, or you are able to unlock the ability to just go through the entire weapon selection. You're not just limited to using the weapon for that specific Jason. But if we are talking about the base form Jason without being able to weapon swap, I feel like Part 7 is specifically already better just with his weapon, mainly because his weapon is one of the best in the game. Coming in at number 7, this might be a bit of a controversial pick, but I'm going to go with Part 4 Jason. I know there is a lot of people that like the Part 4 Jason, and I do like him still too. Even if he is one of the worst Jasons in the game, I still like this guy. A couple of or I guess the main weaknesses of this guy, of course, are water speed, which tends to not be that big of an issue. I feel like that's probably one of the better weaknesses to have in the game. Shift, which is arguably the worst weakness to probably have because, like, be honest, you need a fast shift, and if not a fast shift, at least a shift that regens fast enough so that way you can catch up to things such as the car, and of course, the minus traps. Now, with the way that I said that, you would expect me to have this guy, like, all the way at the bottom of the list, but the thing that makes up for it is three things. The fact that he has he can run, I'm sorry, the fact that he can run, weapon strength, and destruction. Destruction is a very good ability to have. For those who don't know what destruction basically is, it allows you to, it increases the speed of you breaking down things such as doors or walls, which can be very good, especially when you're trying to chase a counselor around. This Jason having the ability to run also makes him good because if he doesn't have a good shift, at least give him the ability to catch up to camp counselors in some sort of way. And even though this guy does, of course, have the very bad shift and minus traps, those three strengths I feel like make up for it because they just work so well together. And his weapon as well tends to be, I guess, I would want to say the second best in the game, but I'm not really sure about that. That's just, of course, my opinion. Coming in at number 6, I have Part 2 Jason. I'm actually surprised I even put him here because he's probably one of my more least played Jasons. Like, I do play him from time to time, but not as much as the others. But at the end of the day, even though this guy tends to be looked at as one of the worst, I think he's not as bad as people say he is. Now, sadly, this Jason does have the, of course, bad weakness of having a bad shift, along with being very low in terms of defense and also having water speed, which, I mean, it's water speed, who honestly cares. But the saving grace for this Jason is the fact that he has a total of 8 traps. 8 traps is absolutely absurd, and it is just so goddamn good to have that. Literally on any map, especially where it's a map with simply just the car and the phone box views, having that many makes it such a pain in the ass for the counselors to even try and do anything. He can also run, which I guess to some extent helps out with the fact that he has a very weak shift. Not really, but I guess in some way it does, and he also has a very good morph, which means that he gets his morph back faster, and he also it also regenerates very quickly. Now, while his shift does absolutely suck ass, same thing with his defense, by the way, because he can't take a hit, I'm pretty sure. The fact that he has those 8 traps at the start of the game to slow it down so quickly just makes him automatically a little bit above the other 3 that we have mentioned on the list so far, and I think him sitting here is a very good spot for him. Coming in at number 5, I have Part 3 Jason. Now, Part 3 Jason, there really isn't much to say about him. He is just a very middle-of-the-road Jason. You can be great with him, you can be bad with him. His weapon is pretty solid. He has some pretty solid strengths that consist of being able to run, having weapon strength, which means he deals more damage with his weapon, I'm sorry. And he also has grip strength, which makes it hard harder for people to escape. Now, I mean, let's be real, you're not really going to be escaping unless you have a pocket knife on you, but I guess it is something. His weaknesses consist of stun resistance, sense, and stalk. Those three alone are not great. However, the fact that he has a decent shift, he has average traps, average morph. I feel like out of all the abilities to be weakened, I feel like sense and stalk are like the very minor ones to have. There really isn't much else to say about him. He's just a very solid average Jason. Coming in at number 4, I have Part 5 Jason. Now, Part 5 Jason, I want to say the same thing for him. He's pretty average, but I honestly think he's on this tier of being one of the, of course, best Jasons. I mean, we are breaking, of course, the top 4. For starters, one of the strengths that he has is being able to hold up to 8 throwing knives. If you are very accurate with throwing knives, and as long as you're able to get direct hits with them, that is actually a very good thing to have, because literally it can just take you 2 knives and you could pretty much guarantee the kill as long as they don't have like any medical spray and they're not that far away from you. Another thing that he has is a very good stalk. Stalk can be useful, especially when you're fighting against new players, but it's nothing really special to have that as a strength specifically. And of course, he can run. I forgot to mention, by the way, this is also, I think, one of the other Jasons that can run as well. I think I only listed Part 2, Part 3, and Part 4 before. Of course, this guy can run, so that's also a pretty good strength to have. His weaknesses are pretty bad, mainly because they mainly focus on how weak he is, of course, because, I mean, Part 5 is just basically a human in a Jason disguise. So he has very low defense, very low stun resistance, and, of course, very low grip strength. Not the worst to have, as long as you're not fighting against people that are trying to kill you, but, it is what it is. I think he is still a pretty solid Jason, and in my opinion, I would pick this guy over Part 3 if you're going to have a starter Jason. If you're playing new. Coming in at number 3, I have Part 8 Jason. Probably another controversial pick, I feel like, because I see a lot of people put this guy at number 2 or even number 1 in some cases, depending on if you're ranking Savini Jason along with it. Part 8 is a very solid Jason, don't get me wrong. He's arguably, of course, he's top 3, so it means that he is one of the best Jasons. And he's honestly interchangeable with the next Jason on this list. The main reason why I put him at 3, though, is because I feel like, well, for starters, let's look at his strengths here. Water speed, destruction, and stalk. Destruction is a very, very good strength to have on any Jason because they're just able to break down stuff quicker. However, I feel as if the 2 other strengths that he has are not that great, that being water speed, because let's be real, nobody really escapes on the boat anymore unless you have to, and stalk. Stalk, at the end of the day, is not a super powerful perk, especially when you're going against somebody who is, not new to the game. They're going to know that if you're trying to fake him out, like on a window, that you're stalking and you're not shifting. This guy also has the weakness of having a bad sense, not being able to run, and having a very weak grip strength. That in itself is actually really not that bad. I don't think his weaknesses are the worst to have on a Jason. The only thing I feel is that the only reason why I put him at 3 is mainly due to the fact that I think his strengths are not that good minus the destruction part. And even minus that, he is still arguably one of the best Jasons in the game. You can still make the argument for that. This is just personally where I would place him. Coming in at number 2, we have Part 6 Jason. Part 6 Jason, God, he is so damn good for, two very big reasons mainly. Throwing knives and shift. Those are 2 of his his strengths, and that fast shift, along with the ability to carry 8 knives in the beginning of the game, is so useful, not to mention the fact that he also has a very good sense, which can be very good for spotting players that like to sneak around or hide at the end of a match if they really know they have no choice of escape or chance of escaping. His weaknesses consist of having bad defense, which can be an issue in some cases, not being able to run, which, like we said, tackled before, is not the biggest issue in the world, and having a bad morph. I feel, though, the fact that he has a very fast and very good shift, I think that kind of doesn't make the morph that effective on him in terms of being a weakness. All in all, this guy is top tier, just one of the best Jasons in the game. He's very annoying to play against because of the constant throwing knives that he has and the fact that he just gets his shift so fast. The one downside to this character tends to be his weapon, at least in the beginning, before you're able to use the weapon wheel once you hit 150, and that is the spear. The spear is the worst weapon in the game because all the kills take 5 years, not to mention that, but just using it in general is such a pain in the ass because of the fact that it can get stuck easily. Sometimes it doesn't even register the counselors when it looks like it's going to be a hit. It gets very annoying to use. However, though, once you reach 150, you're able to switch it out anyway and put on something like a machete, which I feel like is a better fit for this guy. And coming in at number 1 is, to no one's surprise, probably 0 people, Savini Jason. Savini Jason, just the definitive best Jason in the game. There is no arguing that at all, honestly. You can't make an argument at all for this guy not being at number 1. Mainly due to 2 very big things that are going along with the strengths here: the shift and destruction. That is such a powerful combination. Having a very fast shift, being able to destroy things quicker, it is so powerful, and it definitely makes it a lot easier to catch up to counselors or even just catch up to them to kill them in general. He also does have weapon strength as well, which means that he does more damage when he's just like slashing around. So if like you're in a big group of people trying to jump you, you can literally just slash them all down and they're gonna go down relatively quickly. His weaknesses consist of water speed, not being able to run, and grip strength. Honestly, out of all the weaknesses you could put on any Jason, these are the ones to probably have, maybe minus the run. It's just he's just too good, man. You can't beat Savini Jason. I unfortunately actually wasn't able to get him because I wasn't a backer for the game, because of course I was like in middle school, and I always got so jealous when I would hop into a lobby and I would just see somebody rocking a Savini being 150. It's kind of terrifying because you just know you're gonna have a rough time fighting against that person. And ladies and gentlemen, that concludes my list. Thank you all for watching, for those who made it to the end, and let me know down below what your list would be. Let me know if you disagree with me in any way. Let me know if you agree with what I said, and make sure to also like and subscribe. I'm probably going to try and at least post maybe twice a week on here because I do want to hopefully grow this account. I also want to say quickly thank you guys so much for 4,000 subscribers. I know that I've really only achieved that because I mainly post DBL stuff, and I mainly do a lot of my posts through shorts for a bit because I'm still working on videos kind of like this. But I do enjoy doing these videos, and I hope you guys also still do enjoy this type of content as well, because I do want to branch out and try doing like a bunch of different things. And with that, it's been your boy Jaspect. You guys all be beautiful people. You guys all have a good day or night. Peace out.